experience, their emotional well-being, their own sense of self. That wasn't part of the conversation, and honestly, really still isn't. So let me just get a sense of hands for a minute. How many in this room right now are parents? Okay. How many, I'm assuming it's the rest of you, but I still want to see your hands. How many of you are practicing professionals? Okay, it almost looks like half, actually. How many of you, and answer this question honestly, you will not be offended, how many of you think that emotional well-being or a positive sense of self is an important topic to address? Okay, most of you. Given that you feel that that's an important topic, how many of you, parents or professionals, have either taught that subject or been taught that subject yourself? Okay, I'm actually happy to see there were about 6 hands that were up, which is more than usual, but it's an interesting disparity, in my opinion, that the majority of you, let's say almost all of you, felt this was an important topic, and yet a very, very, very small percentage of you have either been taught or been guided or taught in that particular model. So my whole point today is to shine the light on this very topic and make it a forefront in the conversation of autism. Are we okay here? Here, wait, you know what I can do? Oh, it's not showing up? I'm just going to start, and then I'll come on when it comes on. So today I'm going to talk about autism and self-esteem, and 7 critical strategies for developing a positive sense of self. So in yesterday's presentation, that was the presentation I did in the other room, I talked about the whole child approach and what I see to be 6 foundational and fundamental areas of development to focus on. The 6th of those areas was emotional well-being. And I talked about, this is an area that I'm going to speak about today, that is one of the most critical areas and one of the most neglected. Now, this is true for anybody, but especially true for people on the autism spectrum, because number one, they are often very highly underestimated, stigmatized, misunderstood, and excluded. So that's already quite a setup to make it very challenging to have a positive sense of self. And I'm not even talking about all those circumstances being escalated into a position of bullying and real ostracism, which obviously takes that to a whole nother level. So focusing on self-esteem, I just want to talk about now what are some of the reasons why it's such an important topic within autism. So one of the reasons it's such an important topic is because it's such a critical need and it already has a inherent setup that makes it challenging to have a positive sense of self. But not only that, when you have a child who's feeling better about himself or herself, feels capable, feels that the people who are with him or her believe in their abilities, that child will be in a much more open and willing position to learn the skills you're trying to teach them. And that, in my opinion, is like the cherry on top. That the main reason I want to really talk about this is for their own quality of life, but that also, and as teachers and educators, you probably experience this, if a child feels good about who they are, then they're going to be much more willing to learn the specific skills that you're trying to teach them. Let me just see what's going on here. Okay. So let me see if I can remember the slide. Whole child approach, the reasons why. Okay. So I'm going to go right into the strategies. Strategy number 1. If I can remember this without slides, I'd be amazed. I'll be amazed. Do you know which one it is though? Yeah, let me just give it 1 second. Oh, this is the USB drive. In the meantime, you could wonder, what's the first strategy? What can it be? Any ideas? Okay, so that's on now. Okay, first strategy. The first strategy is to change your goal and to change your question. And what I mean by that is, do I have to click or yes? Okay. This is actually a good test. I'm going to see if I can remember my strategies in a row. So the first strategy is to change your goal, change your question. And here's what I mean. Oftentimes, the goal or the question that parents have is, how can I make my child like other children? How can I close the gap to make them more like everybody else? Understandable question, but it's a question that's an injustice and a disservice to the child. Because the goal is not to make this child like everybody else. The goal of the question I would like to suggest that you think of instead is, how can I help this particular person more fully bring their unique self to the world around them? Should I use the clicker now? Yeah? Why self-esteem? Okay, I got that right. Oh, I wanted to say that, so if self-esteem is not your primary goal, I encourage you to make this your primary goal, both to enhance the life of the child, but also to help anyone be more receptive and open to what you're trying to teach them. Okay, strategy number one, change your goal, change your questions. That's right. From how can I help make my child more like others, to how can I help my child more fully bring his unique self to the world around him? Now, this might seem like a subtle thing. It's just a question. How's that really going to impact my child? But I promise you, it'll impact everything you do, every decision you make, every way that you facilitate a therapy. This is what I call the come from. Where are you coming from when you're facilitating a therapy? And the reason why this is so important is because whether you believe you're showing it or not, or demonstrating it or not, if you're trying to get your kid to change, get the autism out of him, make him more like others, he will know it, he will sense it, he will resist you, and he will not feel like he's being seen. And if he feels like he's not being seen, you don't have a partner in the process. There's nothing encouraging or motivating about growing in together with someone who doesn't see who you really are. So changing your question, changing your goal, coming from a place of, I want to help you bring yourself as fully as possible to the world around us because the world needs you, completely changes the tone of everything you do with your child. It is the first step of helping your child feel seen and feel valued for who they are. Do you guys get that? Make sense? Okay. That's strategy number one. Strategy number two is to identify and cultivate your child's strengths and passions. And I am so happy to know that over these last 2 days, this is a topic that's really been drilled down, really been brought home. Stephen Shore has talked about it quite a bit. It's been touched upon kind of all over the place. I'm going to go even further with it right now because this is critical. And in a way, kind of revolutionary, because for so long and for so many years, it's been about, this is my curriculum, your job is to be obedient, your job is to be compliant, your job is to do what I want you to do. And there's a total flip to, what is it that you love? What is it that you enjoy? And how can we use that to develop yourself more fully and teach you all the skills that are important for you to have? So let me just tell you a story to demonstrate this point. A mom named Mary wrote to me a couple years ago. She sent me an email and told me about her son Jewel, who was at the time about 13 years old. Now, this is a Jewish family, and they used to go to synagogue every Saturday morning. And her son Jewel loved the prayers. He loved the songs. He loved the whole experience. And he would often sing the songs throughout the week. Now, his group of therapists who worked with him throughout the week, with the best intentions in the world, talked to the mom and said, listen, Mary, we have a concern. Jewel sings these songs all week long. He can't seem to get them out of his head. He's humming, he's singing, and it's really getting in his way of being focused and present in the therapy session. So we'd really like to encourage you that you stop taking him to synagogue services. So she did. She stopped taking him to synagogue services, and this is when she wrote to me, because she said, Tali, I stopped taking him to see if that would help him be more involved, more participatory in his therapy sessions. And the truth is, ever since I stopped taking him, it was like a light went out in him. He's been depressed, he's been listless, he's been unmotivated, he is certainly not becoming more engaged and participatory in his therapy sessions. In fact, the opposite is true. He doesn't have much motivation for anything. What do I do? So she was really quite in a situation. The therapist was really encouraging her to do one thing. Didn't really feel right to her. Her son was sort of depressed. She was sort of in an interesting position. So I said, Mary, take him back to synagogue. First of all, because what's more important than the joy and the light in your son's eyes? What's more important than his own quality of life? This is his life and he is living it. And simply for the joy itself, and to experience that his passion and his interest is validated. Just for that reason alone, it's important to take him back to synagogue. But not just that. I promise you, if you take him back to synagogue and he gets to see again in those services, his love for song will lead to a whole variety of skills. He can use that motivation to learn how to become part of the community, how to read the prayer book, how to follow directions, how to have leadership skills. So take him back and let me know what happened. So she took him back. She was like, okay. She took him back. And about 8 months later, I got an email from her. And she was just like, you're not going to believe what happened. So his love and interest for songs developed in a love and interest for music, and then piano, ultimately. He started to learn piano, and he very quickly became very skilled at it. He began to participate in the community services, in the prayers. He was following along in the book, just as we had talked about. And he became so skilled and so excited, he then led an autism fundraiser in their own living room home where he played piano and raised money for autism. Woo, right? Amazing. So talk about all the life skills that all these therapists were working so hard to get him to eke out, when all they had to do was tap into his interest. And there was no pulling teeth there. It was just flowing. He kept moving on to the next thing. So now I'm going to show you a video in just a minute of Jules playing this incredible, not yet, hold on. Just to give you a little, actually, yeah, let's play it now, that'll tell you where he's gone since then. So do I need to press something? You got it? Okay, take a look at Jules. So he received a standing ovation in a room that looked almost twice the size of this room. And just think about what that does ultimately for his emotional well-being, for his sense of self, recognizing how he was able to perform in that way, influence all those people, and that his interest, instead of being pushed away, was actually embraced and validated. And you should know what happened with Jules. I keep getting updates and I'm friends with him on Facebook. So I'm like, oh my God, what he's doing now, he's playing with some of the top. We began to realize his passion is for jazz. So he learned how to play jazz music with some of the top teachers in Harlem. And he's playing in ensembles now. So instead of just playing by himself, he has very limited verbal communication. He's able to communicate through music with a constellation of other musicians who are riffing off each other and communicating back and forth. I mean, it's taking him to a whole nother level. So that's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3 is to develop your child's independence. And I wanted to share a story about this one. There's a little boy named Maddie. Maddie is the boy on your right, the one with the blue hat on. Now, Maddie also has limited verbal communication skills, but has learned to be quite eloquent, both through typing and through using the letterboard. And I wanted to share this with you. The team, and the mom, this is his mom in the middle, had asked him the question, what should the team know about how to help you? These are the kind of sophisticated questions you can ask these kids, right? This is what he types word for word. They should make me do more stuff by myself. I'm 9 years old and can probably do more things, like put my pants on or put my dishes away. In the past, I wasn't able to do it, but I can now. I think I can do a lot more now that I'm trying to be more independent. Please help me. Please laugh with me as I try new things. I want to thank you for making my life beautiful. The thing to know about me is that I promise to never give up. This is emotional for me, if you keep pushing me. And this is a part of independent life skills that I think not everyone actually considers. I mentioned this briefly yesterday. It is critical for children, for adolescents, for adults, to know how to live as independently as possible and do life skills, brushing their teeth, putting their pants on, putting their dishes away, for the skill itself. It's also a really important skill so that the parents don't have to be doing everything for their child, because that's a lot. It's not sustainable. But what many times is not considered is how much these kids want it for themselves. He's a 9-year-old boy. He doesn't want someone wiping him when he goes to the bathroom. He wants to do these things on his own for himself so he can feel proud about his independence. And that will help him have a more positive sense of self. So know that when you're encouraging your child to do any one of these things, or a child that you're working with, you're doing them a favor. Sometimes, well, I feel bad, I'll do it for him, it's hard for him, I'll just take care of it. They want to be independent. And sometimes just need to be encouraged and pushed to do so. Okay. Strategy number 4 is give your child the power to choose. So this is something else that was talked about briefly yesterday. I've seen so many different presentations, I can't remember exactly where. I think it came up in the panel discussion at the end of the day yesterday. How important it is to give your child, or the child you're working with, agency. The ability to self-direct. The ability to make decisions. You know, they, just like everybody else, want to have the feeling that they can impact the path of their own lives. But often, children with autism, they're taken here, and they're taken there, and they're told to do this, and they're told to do that, and they're told to eat this, but not eat that, and no one gives them any explanation. No one gives them any choice. They're pushed and shoved, and prompted and stuck in places without any sense of self-direction. But giving your child the power to choose, and this can look all different ways. I got the question yesterday, how do you help a child who is nonverbal to develop their self-esteem? So all these strategies have nothing to do with verbal skills. They can be applied to any child, any adolescent, whether they're verbally able to communicate or not. So for example, this could be something as simple as, do you want to eat this? Do you want to eat that? Do you want to wear this? Do you want to wear that? Do you want to play here? Do you want to play there? Simple choices. They give your child an opportunity to say, I have an opinion. And I want to express that opinion, and how empowering it is that you're validating my opinion. Now let's go back to Maddie for a second. So Maddie, who basically said, I want to do things on my own, he goes a step further. He was in a home-based, play-centered program for years. And he grew used to it. And then he kind of was done with it. He didn't want to go into the therapy room. He didn't want to play with his therapist. And he said, through his spelling, that he was ready to go to school. He wanted to go to school. Now, the parents were like, what do we do? I don't think he's ready. He doesn't quite have his sensory integration in place. He might have meltdowns. So they asked me what I should do. I said, listen, it might not work, but then we'll learn that. More importantly, he will feel empowered by just seeing that you're validating his opinion, that you're validating listening to what he wants, and it might work. So either way, it's a win-win. Let's give it a go. So he put him in school. He did amazingly well. In 8 months, they put him in school with special needs kids. He said, I'll show you what he said. In typing. I put in yellow, I'll read it out loud. I want to sit for a longer time period and do it. I want to go to Jack's school. Jack's his older neurotypical brother. I think I could do it with Sonia. Sonia's his communication partner. I want to try it if I could. I'm tired of being in a school for kids with autism. I want to try a different school. I want to be with regular kids. So first he pushed to be in school and put him in a special needs school. 8 months there, he's like, okay, been there, done that. I want to move on. They were thinking, wow, neurotypical school. What do we do now? Well, because they wanted to give him the power to choose, and because they wanted to validate his opinion, because they wanted to give him agency, what you're seeing there is Maddie in his new school uniform. He's in a typical school now. He's in a classroom with kids with some learning needs, and he's doing amazingly well. So I want you to really think in really broad and big ways that when we're talking about giving your child the power to choose, yes, it means small things like, do you want to eat this, do you want to eat that? But it also means much bigger things like, what environment, what learning environment feels best for you? What therapist is really working for you? What therapist is really not working for you? And allowing your child to choose his or her path. And as we all know, as we've been saying all along, we don't know. Ask the person with autism. And they'll all have different answers because they're all individuals. So that's a really important piece that I wanted to highlight. I had something else I wanted to say about it. Just see if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. But I just want to highlight here the importance of giving your child the power to choose. And how whether or not that choice turns out to be the best or not, just the fact that you validate their choice is already an empowering experience. Okay, strategy number 5 is speaking to your child's true intelligence. So this is something else that's been talked about before, that your child's verbal communication means nothing about their comprehension. So you can have a child who is very limited in their verbal skills, doesn't have verbal skills, has very repetitive verbal skills. That does not mean that they have full capacity to understand what's going on. So then we need to really change the way we talk to our kids. So again, whether your child is verbal or not, this means not talking, as someone mentioned it earlier today, not talking about your kid in front of your kid. I can't tell you how many times I've seen two chatting about the kid who's right there. It means also not doing baby talk. Not talking down your kid like a baby. And even with the best intentions, what I see a lot too is this kind of like, yay, cheery, you can do it kind of thing that is sweet and is loving, but it's not the way you talk to another kid that age. As a child grows, they become 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, talk to them like you would talk to any other 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and 12-year-old. Very direct, very eye to eye. This is what's going on. This is why you're on this special diet. This is why we're taking you to this therapy. We're hoping it'll achieve this and that. We're hoping to help you feel more regulated, so the times that you feel maybe a little bit out of control, you can feel more in control. I worked with a family who had a daughter who was taking pieces of paper, rolling it up into little balls and swallowing it. And she tried everything to try to get her to stop. Nothing was working. So what do I do? And I said to her, have you ever actually sat down and talked to her, fairly nonverbal child, about what actually might happen in her digestive system if she continues to eat paper? Have you sat down and really explained to her how the digestive system works and how eating paper in that way can really impact her digestive health? She's like, no, I haven't done that. I'm like, try it. So she did. She stopped eating paper. Really being direct, talking to your kids eye to eye will help them feel seen, will help them know that you see them as intelligent and capable, and they will stand taller for it, just by the way you talk to them. And that leads me to my next strategy, strategy number 6, which is to teach to your child's true intelligence. So the previous one was speaking to your child's true intelligence, and the 6th one is to teach to your child's true intelligence. So I spoke yesterday, if you were in my presentation yesterday, about this 12-year-old boy named Seaman, who's from Scandinavia. And his mom was reading to him. He was about 12 years old at the time. These like toddler books, you know, like these like kind of cardboard books, about 5 or 6 pages of fire engines and things like that. And she sent me a video, I'm going to show you in just a minute, of her reading this book to him. Now, just so you know, the way I work with families is they send me videos, and then I have an online consultation with the parent. So what you're going to see now is a video of her reading this book to her son. Since they speak in Norwegian, she subtitled the whole thing in English, but her English isn't perfect. It's better than my Norwegian, so I just wanted to explain to you the context, and I want you to watch and see what kind of material she was using with him initially. So if you could play the video for the next
Det är en brandstor gata och brandmännen löpandes. full fart. Björnar kom bara till den brinnande spikningen och så satt han strax i gang med å slå. Slangen blev trukket frem. Snart så sprutet det mot flammen. Pers, 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 pers. Sier han når de sprutet vann på det.
Okay, thank you. So you can see from this video that she sent me, it's very like what you would read and how you would read to a 4-year-old. You know, whale, whale, the sirens are blaring, it's fish splash and the water's coming. And he's there, and he seems to be enjoying cuddling with her and hearing it. But I said to her, I think he's capable of much higher level learning. I bet you he would love to learn much more than that. Have you ever tried to teach him anything that's peer level? And no one ever had. This was the kind of material he was consistently exposed to from the time that he was 3, all the way through until he was 12 years old. So I encouraged her to really experiment with that. And she started teaching him. She got the books from his school that other peers, neurotypical peers, were learning, and she used those to teach him. And she started teaching biology and cell division and biographies of inventors and astronomy. And he loved it. He was so thirsty to learn, and she knew that he understood because she would then ask questions after they would do a piece of material. She'd sometimes ask him a choice question to make sure he understood, and then she'd ask him more open-ended questions, and he was able to reply. And it was clear that he understood, he was eager, and he was so happy to be done with the repetitive questions that he'd been doing. And he was talking about yesterday about where's your head, and where's your arm, and where's your nose. He was so past that. But that was just based on assumptions that he wasn't capable of more. So what I'm going to show you now is a video of the same mom and the same kid. But this time, she's teaching him a topic that most parents of neurotypical kids avoid and don't teach, which is puberty. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, the importance of directly teaching like you need to with other kids about puberty, about sexuality, about relationships. So here she's going to be taking a textbook, a Norwegian textbook, teaching him about puberty, about his changing body, and he is totally capable, attentive, and learning as she's teaching him. So if you could play the next video, please.
Så länge var det. Fra du er på Fra du er 11-12 år fremover, så skjer det forandringer mye raskere enn før. Og av og til så kan vi til og med oppdage nye fra den ene dagen til den andre. Du vokser ikke bare i enden og får nye interesser, men du utvikler deg og så fra deg sammen til å bli en ungdom. Og de årene, 11-13, det kaller vi puberteten. Hva var det kalt det? Når man utvikler seg så fort, når man sier det sånn. Kalte de det for eller om det nå? Eller kalte det for kalte de det for andre da? Eller pubertet? Det er styret.
Okay, one more minute, I'll be done. And so then she goes on to actually teach him how to spell the word puberty and more advanced information about puberty, but he answered immediately when she gave him a choice question. Is it called old age? Is it called puberty? He knew exactly what she was talking about. And he's since then had very in-depth conversations about what it's like to be autistic, what his experience of God is. So teaching to a child's true intelligence is important for so many reasons. Every child has the right to be educated, learn. But when a child is taught to their true abilities, it is so empowering for them. They see that other people see their true intelligence, and nothing impacts their emotional being more than that. And this is just the last strategy. Surround your child with people who believe in him. So if we go back for a minute to the story of Maddie, who was in school, in a special needs school, and then wanted to switch to a school of neurotypical kids. You know why he wanted to switch schools? Because he said the staff at that school treated him like he was stupid. The trained staff talked down to him, underestimated his abilities, underestimated his intelligence, and he started acting out. He wanted out, he was done. So it really makes an impact how the people around your child treat them, perceive them, or believe about them. So whether you're a parent or you're a professional, I really encourage you to go through who are the people that my child is with? What are the therapists? What are the teachers? What are the family members? The more you can surround your child with people who believe in their ability, believe in their intelligence, the easier it will be for your child to develop a positive sense of self and recognize that other people value that in them, versus being surrounded by people who talk down to them and talk about them in front of them or really beneath them. So that's the seventh strategy that I want to end with, but it starts with you. It starts with you believing in your child. It starts with you believing the child that you're working with. It starts with you raising the bar of what you can talk to them about and what you can teach them, how much independence you allow them to have. So we've talked about a couple different strategies here, 7 different strategies. And I would just like to ask you, what is one strategy that you're taking away today? You can see while the music is going. What is one strategy that you want to implement? And I'll just let you know that I wrote an article on autism and self-esteem for the Autism File magazine that lists, I think, several more strategies that you can have access to. If you go to taliberman.com/self-esteem without any dashes, you'll be led to a page where you can enter your email address, and then the article will be sent directly to your email, so you can review that for yourself. Thank you very much.